Hello everyone. So in today's lecture we will discuss about state space modeling. Till now we have already covered quite a bit of details in classical control. So we had covered Laplace transform, transfer function modeling, stability analysis, in root locus, Bode plot, so on and so forth. What I would like to do in this series of lecture or to go to the other design of controller, the other option of controller system, which we call as modern control system, specifically in this lecture. So I will be talking about state space. Alright, so we will see what is state space control, or we will see what is state space system. So we will see some modeling aspect of state space system. So I will present a few example in this. So we have already seen about transfer function modeling approach, and the question naturally arises, why do we need a state space approach? Alright, so before we go to state space, let's see why we need different approach as compared to Laplace transform. So transfer function is actually very useful, and it's actually one of the most dominant modeling in the control industry. So you go for a process controller, aircraft, any kind of systems, ships or so on. So the dominant way of modeling a system and then controlling it is always from the viewpoint of transfer function. Alright, so the basic concept of transfer function is that it is some kind of generation of Fourier transform. Alright, so once we see that within Fourier transform, we know that we can essentially try to have a signal processing viewpoint of system. So you have a system and you give input to varying, say, frequency, okay, and then you get output for these input of varying frequency. So this is called input output view, because we are looking at signal with frequency. A natural aspect that arises is the bandwidth. So we know that bandwidth is very important for control system. If your bandwidth of system is fairly low, you can't control the high speed dynamics. Alright, and you can't analyze the high speed dynamics, and vice versa. If the bandwidth is too high, you may start to bring a lot of noise and other aspects. Alright, so the bandwidth is of course dependent on the specific task and the problem which you are looking at, but the bandwidth is again a very specific aspect of the signal processing viewpoint, and it is fundamental aspects of control system. The another nice aspect of control system of transfer function approach is that we have these algebraic property of transfer function. So I can take multiple transfer function g1, g2, okay, and I can take their feedback loop or feed forward, or even in I can cascade them in series or parallel. So the idea is that I can actually combine different transfer function by these algebraic properties. So we can see that you just take two transfer function in series and you just combine them by product of them, and I can take a transfer function, I can do feedback also with another transfer function. So all these property I am able to combine different blocks primarily because of this algebraic nature. So it allows us to do a lot of very interesting things by combining different blocks or different subsystem, and we can't build more and more complex system. Alright, and of course, as I said before, this is very dominant in industry. You can take any advanced industry in the world today, and transfer function modeling is the single most important aspect when you come to control of any system. So this is the good stuffs. Let's see what are the some drawbacks of transfer function. So first and most important is they are only applicable for linear system. So till now I think we have fair idea of linearity. So transfer function approach can't be easily used when we are looking for non-linear system, but it will be little tricky. Second, the other most important thing is usually this thing is limited to single input, single output system. So if I got a system like this, say I have a transfer function over here, I got an input, an output, and basically limit to this kind of system journal. So we see that a lot of system are of multi input multi output types. Okay, so I have got different input for each input in the combination of this particular process. So in this plant I got different inputs R1, R2, R3, different outputs Y1, Y2, Y3, transfer function G1, G2, G3, right? Now we know that how to handle this system. We also know that how to handle this system. We know how to handle every individual system. So in this particular, say, highly complex system, which is interconnection of many different system, in this particular, say, highly complex system, which is interconnection of many different system, what we still haven't seen is when these two systems are interconnected. Okay, alright, I can actually give a specific example and then it's going to be clear. So let's say I got a system 1 over here, I got a system 2 over here, and we know how to analyze the system properties. So we know how to compute performance criteria and all these kind of things, and in each of these individual system, so you take any complex system, a chemical processor or even aircraft, automated vehicle, so you never see a single system. There are multiple subsystems. These subsystems are actually coupled to each other. So you may have engine control system, and then you have, for example, automatic flight control system, or in cars you may have ABS system and advanced braking system, which we have. So now these are the coupled systems. So when we say couple, it means that there is some kind of relationship between these two systems. Okay, so in advanced vehicle or chemical process, we got hundred or thousands. For each one of this we need to keep or say modeling first, and this in the simple single input single output approach, and then we need to starts to look what are the coupling effect between these two, and then couplings can actually be non-linear in many cases, right? So this becomes extremely cumbersome, and when you have multiple input multiple output system. Now this doesn't mean that the people are not doing this. So in aircraft industry, for example, you have extreme high order system, and there is really very complex amount of, say, dynamics and control which is required, and it's all done in classical approach. So you have beautiful transfer function, you have these coupling between, they say, each of the transfer function loop, and which we are looking at. So you can model all this, and the problem with the reason why we had to do this is a good old days was the primary because the computing power was limited. All right, so we see in couple of slides why this change in computing power allowed us to advance in notion of state space. Another modern control says technically. So the reason was because we had limited computing, everyone preferred to look at individual loops and design the controller for individual loop, and then worry about the coupling between the individual. Alright, and then design another controller to take care of coupling of those kind of things. Obviously very tricky, and it can lead to really messy design, and it is very difficult to really capture all the coupling effects, so and so forth. So that's another drawback. The final drawback, which is actually very important, is the internal behavior of system. It is known not known, remember that we just said that the transfer function is typically input output signal. Okay, and that all you are really concerned about. So the transfer function then would just give you the relationship between internal input and output. The internal dynamics of system is missing, and it was very complex system, but we have absolutely no clue what is happening within the system. So all we concerned about is transfer function approach is simply the response of to a given input. That's about it. Okay, so these are the drawbacks, and let's see how the introduction of new concept of state space solves many of these issues. Alright, first of all we need to see what is state space system. So state space system or state space representation of system is basically a mathematical model that connect the input, output and the internal variable of system called the states. Okay, so it's connect all these three different parameter by first order differential equations. So as we draw in previous slide, I got a system, I got multiple inputs, I have multiple output y1 and y2. I'm having 2 over here, we can have 10, hundreds, so on depending upon my system. So multiple subsystem within this, right? And each of subsystem is important because it show how the input is mapped onto the output, and we will see a couple of example of this later. So state space representation of system, what it does is basically be able to take care of input which I have, take care of all the output which we have, and all the internal variables which are actually hidden. If you look at it, is purely from input and output point of view. And of course the relationship between these three guys are essentially just the first order differential equation, and we will see why it is first order differential equation in couples of slide. So second nice aspect of state space system is that we can actually isolate individual subsystem. The keyword is the one can actually isolate individual subsystem, okay, and say the component, and we can actually say that these specific subsystems, okay. So to speak or either controllable or uncontrollable, we can say that the observable or non-observable. Of course when we say component, we actually mean states, we do not mean literally the component itself, but the representation of components, right? So we are looking at a system where I can model input, internal variables and output, and I can even tell which specific internal variable the states are controllable, uncontrollable, observable, unobservable, so and so forth. Okay, so that is the part of modern control system in your program, BTech program. So we will see all this little bit later in our program. So other important point is that we will see state space's linear version of state space system is entirely dominated by linear algebra, and there are excellent techniques and really good software tools for us to do the analysis and design. Okay, so to recall or summarize this slide, the basic idea is that the state space representation of system is a mathematical model which capture your input output through this internal variable called state, and all of the relationships are basically first order differential equation. Okay, so let's look at the general procedure to obtain state space system. I will drive one or two example a little bit later. The basic idea is that we have seen a transfer function approach where you have given a physical system, we write down the differential equation which governs the dynamics, right? So for a simple mass spring damper, we have second order dynamics of RLC circuit, we have second order dynamics, so and so forth, and right, and these dynamics are basically differential equations, right? So what we are going to actually do in state space modeling is basically take the differential equation model of physical system and then convert that nth order differential equation, it n can be 2 or 10, we convert that nth order differential equation which essentially determines the dynamics into n first order differential equation. All right, that is the basic approach of state space, and how many states we choose is basically one of the easiest way to determine, that is it basically the order of differential equation which used to model the system. So if I have a RLC circuit, it turns out that number of states is 2 because differential equation which governs the dynamics of second is the second order differential equation. This is of course a different way to also decide how many states we need, and the idea is essentially this. So for an electrical system, we essentially says number of states are basically equals to number of energy storing elements. So take RLC circuit, you have inductor, you have capacitor, which are energy storing elements. So you actually have 2 over here, right? If you have 10 inductors, 10 capacitors, you actually will have 20 order differential equation, that is basically the story, and then you have 20 states, right? So that sounds easy, isn't it? So let's actually go to simple example, and we will start with this mass spring damper system. So we have, you can see we have a mass M with a spring constant attached to this wall to the left K. So you have a mass M and it is connected to this wall over here by the spring constant K, and then I have got this damper over here with damping constant of B, and I have applied an input force towards the mass in this direction. So we are going to see what the dynamics are. Now we know by basic force balance equation. So the applied force, total amount of applied force is distributed among each of these 3 elements. So by Newton law, we know the component of force along the mass is basically mass time acceleration, where x is the displacement or position of mass. Now, so we have the component of force acting on mass. Okay. Then we have this component of force which is acting on damping, or rather damping resist this component of force, and it basically a function of velocity dx by dt. Of course the damping ratio is B, and then final component, this is the spring constant over here. So the component of force acting on the spring, and the elasticity force is produced. So these are spring component, this is damping component of force. So these 3 components now we know from the standard, the transfer function approach. The basic way to decide or write down the transfer function of this one is to convert this Laplace domain, right? So we apply Laplace transform on the other side, and f goes to fs, ms square dxs xs dx square by dt will become xs. Okay, then b and then dx by dt will replace by s into xs, and then the final term k into xs. Okay, now if you remember the basic definition of Laplace of transfer function, it was nothing but the ratio of measured output to the applied input. In this case applied force, alright, and there is nothing but 1 by ms square plus bs plus k. And when we know that when we correlate this with standard expression of characteristic equation of s square 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square, we can derive damping and natural frequency. So we can talk about stability and we can talk about performance, all the standard things. Alright, now let us see how we do this in state space approach. So I will actually be doing this derivation. So the final state space model is actually going to look like this. So you can see that we actually have, or you can see that we actually have 2 variables over here, x1 and x2. So let's see how we can actually say derive this. So if we recall the basic derivation, the basic second order differential equation. So I have m dx square by dt square plus b dx by dt plus kx. Now what I am going to do is introduce a new set of variable. So let's say new choice of variable, and remember what I said, because we have 2 second order differential equation, so number of state is 2. Let us introduce 2 new variables and we just call x1 You can call them whatever you like. x1 is good and x2, right? So specifically I am going to assign x1 is equals to x, which is basically the displacement. Okay, then x2 is derivative of displacement. There is nothing but velocity. Now with these new choice of variable, let us see how I can actually write down the dynamics. I can derive that. I'm still calling this as state space model, which we have not formally defined, but we will come to that later. So let's see the relationship between x1 and x2. Okay, so first we see that dx by dt is nothing but x2, right? Because if I take derivative of x1, I will get dx by dt, which is nothing but x2, right? So now dx2 by dt is equals to d square double differentiation of x. So we can rewrite it by the second order differential equation, and by dividing the factor with m, I am taking it on the left hand side. So this will simply becomes f by m minus b by m dx by dt minus k by m x. So I am rewriting d square x by dt square in this particular form, right? Now what I am doing is, if you look at the first equation over here, you see that the expression of x1 in terms of x2. What I would like to do now is to express x2 in terms of x1 and x2, right? So now let's see how to do that. So actually to do this, we have this d square x by dt square, and you can see that I got this f by m, that is obviously constant or independent of input. They do not depend on states, alright? So that stay as it is. Then I got this b by m dx by dt. Now if you look at this, what is this dx by dt? It is nothing else but x2, alright? So I will just rewrite b by m x2. x2 is nothing but dx by dt. Similarly, the last term over here is k by m, which is constant. It doesn't change on the doesn't depend on state, so that will stay as it is. And then I have this xt. xt is nothing but x1. From here you can see. Okay, so if I combine this equation 1 and equation 2, I get exactly the state space. What you see is dx by dt is related to x2, whereas dx2 by dt is related to x1 and x2. But of course this is specific to this specific example. We can consider this need not to be true in general. However, the first row in 2 into 2 matrix will always be 0 and 1. We will see the structure repeating over for nth order state space system, and the inputs are always treated separately. So you can think these are the inputs, and this is your carefully, these are the actual dynamic of system. So here is where you have some acceleration, velocity, and so on, and then these states x1 and x2. Now let us say for this particular system I also want to measure the output, because without measurement you actually can't do the control analysis, any such thing. So let us say I want to measure these output as output, and now what are the two state which I have? So we have x1 and x2. x1 is my position, x2 is my velocity, and I want to measure the position. Maybe I have got, say, position sensor in one case. In another case, if you want to measure the velocity, I want odometer or any of one of these. Okay, so if you want to measure the position, I call my measurement as y, and remember what is the accessible to me is x1 and x2. So assume I can measure only the position, so I want to measure only the position, so I write down it in this form 1 and 0. When these two multiply, I will get x1. So I can write in this form. So this is my measurement equation. Okay, and this is my actual state space matrix, input and output measurement. Okay, we will also look at the basic theory of how to write nth order differential equation in form of state space system. But the basic idea is always that you start with the basic differential equation, you make a new choice of variable, and number of such variables basically equals to number of, it's equals to order of differential equation. So in this case we have second order differential equation, so I am taking two variables and I have called the states. Once you make a choice of these two states, the idea is to relate two states with each other, and then you essentially starts to get these dynamics. Alright, and finally for us, as I said, analysis of control, all these things we need to make a specific measurement. So then you introduce a measurement matrix as well as you get this structure. Now we will actually see more formal version of this. So this was my mass spring damper, and let's see a very simple simulation of this one. So let's say I take mass is equals to 1000 kg, the spring constant K is equals to 2000 N newtons per meter, damping ratio is 1000 meter per meter square inverse. So now remember A matrix, remember this particular matrix over here, it was minus K by M, this was minus B by M, put these values, you will get minus 2, minus 1. So it is actually a matrix, and we will see why this is called as A matrix a little bit later. So when I substitute the parameter K, M and B in this matrix over here, essentially what you are going to get is 0, 1, minus 2, minus 1. And then if you look at these inputs over here, I have 1 by M. For a moment, let us assume F is equals to unit step force. So F is equals to 1. So 1 by M, which becomes 0.001. Okay, so this is my A matrix, this is my B, and we will see what these things are later. So we see from the transfer function modeling or damping spring damper that when you have this kind of response, we sort of guess what kind of poles that corresponds to transfer function would have been. So the kind of response, it is very easy to see the poles would be like you have a complex pair of poles and it is on left hand side. From here I can calculate my poles, right, which is why you have stable and damped response. And now of course we are in the so-called state space version, where the notion of poles not really holds, but of course what to relate how the system response comes with the notion of poles as well as the content of state space. So one of the way to do that is, if you have this matrix A over here, we see this is the square matrix. So one of the natural question that comes in, we see a square matrix is what are the eigenvalues of A. Okay, so let's compute the eigenvalue of A. So it just follow the standard procedure. You compute S A minus Si determinant, and when you do this you get the eigenvalue are essentially the same for the same system. If you look at transfer function, which is 1 by a m s square plus b s plus k, you compute pole for this transfer function, you will get exactly same value as eigenvalue. Okay, so here also you will get minus 0.5 plus minus 1.3229J. Okay, so this is the particular case. We are seeing that the poles of systems are exactly equals to the eigenvalue of A. So we will see a little bit more formally why this is true, but this is very interesting because it shows that this new modeling approach in state space, at least with respect to say if its dynamics of this kind exactly are done. With this, we talk about states of the system, right? So for mass spring damper, we have said that the state 1 of the state is position, the other state is velocity, and we have done all these derivative over here, and we have this model. We have and then calculated the poles using state space, means the eigenvalue of A matrix are exactly the poles of the corresponding transfer function. Okay, so that's all about the basics of state space modeling. Thank you for today's lecture.